War of the Visions has a history of giving us meta-defining cost 100 units when they are global original units. That was the case for Dwayne, it was the case for UR Zazan, and even more so with Starlet Elena, who's currently still at the top of the Guild Battle leaderboard. So what do we think about Ibara? In my opinion, she's a very underwhelming unit. She has a really cool design, really unique looks, and there are a couple things about her that are unique, but if you're thinking about making your account stronger, I don't think she's the way to go. So today we'll take a look at her kit, how to build her, what can you expect from her in your team, and whether she's a good investment or not. So, Ibara is a damage dealer. That's the main thing she does. Her hardest hitting abilities are single target, but she does have a couple good AoE attacks as well, and she decreases lightning resistance a couple different ways, so she's a really good enabler for other lightning units. She is a little bit more tanky than most mages. I believe she can take one hit before going down, and depending on how you build her, you could actually run her in a decent Bruiser build, and we'll take a look at that later. She is a demon type, which means she's not affected by Man-Eater. Now, enemies could decide to build for Demon Eater instead, but then they're not affecting the rest of your team with that. So that's usually pretty good. It's part of the reason why To Be and 9S are so tanky is because they're not affected by Man-Eater either. She has both magic and slash moves, which is cool. She penetrates spirit very well, ignores magic resistance, and hits very hard, but she does not have a guaranteed hit attack, so if she's fighting an evasion team, she will quite likely struggle. Fortunately for her, there are a bunch of other units with guaranteed hits that are lightning and do a very good job. And now, she has a move 3, jump 1, basic mobility, and no ways to increase that, so that's really bad in my book. And then for a unit with not the longest range, her survivability, even though it's not terrible, it's not great either. She's also very AP hungry, so unlike some other mages, she begins with only half her AP bar full, and while she has a couple of things that gives her acquired AP, this is not going to help her that much when a lot of her abilities cost in the 40s and will deplete her AP bar very quickly. And then, well, she equips hat, cloth, and accessory as we would expect from a mage, and she has a mastery ability that gives her bonuses to lightning units and increases her own acquired AP and AoE resistance. So, you know, pretty standard stuff there. In terms of stats, I would say Ibara is on par with the other cost 100 mages. I'm going to compare her to Black Rose Helena and Renan, Renan being a warrior of the crystal that's going to be released eventually, and a lightning mage, so they really have the same archetype. If I look at them, Ibara has the edge in HP. She's got a little bit over 10% more HP than the others at 3800, so that's good, but then she has a little bit less magic, a little bit less agility as well, and same kind of dexterity and luck as we see on the Black Witch. So they're good stats, but it's nothing we haven't seen before. And then 4 defense and spirit is cute. Her resistances aren't bad. She's resistant to pierce and missile and magic, and then weak to slash and strike, which is okay. You know, it's kind of standard. And then status resistances, I think the other two have an edge over her. I prefer seeing stop resist and charm resist over disable resist, and then disable is still a really good one, but the others, confusion, frostbite, are not that impactful, I think, compared to the, you know, the big ones that we see on the other units. So now we know she's got standard cost 100 mage stats, let's look at her passives. Now, I've seen a lot of hype about the fact that she has Man-Eater in one of her passives. Guys, this is not the best passive for her. If you want her to do damage, you want Prayers of Humankind instead, because that's going to give you 12 lightning attack and 30% magic. The 12 lightning attack is going to apply to everything in her kit, whereas the Human Killer is only applicable when you're fighting a human, so in some PvE stages it won't help you, and even in some PvP, there are androids, there are demons, and humans now. So there is starting to be a little bit of variety. Then you could either make her more tanky with Mind Body Unity or Holy Knight's Protection, but I would likely go Blade Soul Lore with my second passive because of the agility and Spirit Penetration, and Spirit Pen she doesn't have anywhere else in her kit, so that's the one way to make sure that if you're fighting a guy that's very bulky in Spirit, you can still deal significant damage to them. In terms of counter abilities, I would scrap the Preemptive Revenge. I don't think it's that good. The main reason being, yes, it's got a pretty good counter chance, but it's short range, so you won't be able to counter many attacks. And then it's Slash Attack, which is not her strong suit, and it's not even lightning, it's neutral element, so she does not benefit from her lightning attack up on that hit. It's going to be a rather weak attack. So you have the choice. If you're fighting a lot of mages, you want the magic reflex on top, and if you're fighting a bunch of physical attackers, you want Paladin's Guard, and both of these are very good. Now, let's look at her main job. There is one big tendency here, all of her abilities can be reflected, and they're all instant cast spells, so the instant cast is pretty good. The reflected part might be difficult. There will eventually be units like Celeste with the ability to absorb reflectable abilities, so that could eventually be an issue, even though she's water type. Ibara will not be able to counter Celeste very well. but you know, that's in the far future. For now, let's look at what she's got. So she's got the Hairpin Dart, which is a cute 121 mod basic attack. Then she's got a TP skill that affects enemies, which is always fun. You can potentially disrupt the enemy plan while still generating some AP, which is an AoE chance to stun, so that's cute. Then Izayoi is her hardest hitting ability. It's a 200% mod, and under the right condition, it becomes a 260 mod, so it's a very, very hard hitting ability, but it's single target. Then you get the Demonic Wall, or with EX jobs, the Wailing Storm, which decreases lightning resistance by 30% and then deals damage. It's a low mod attack, but since it decreases resistance before dealing damage, it's still going to be fine. The one main drawback of that ability is it's only got 2 casts, so if you're running Ibara on Guild Battle, for example, you're probably going to use both casts on Battle 1, and then you're out of good AoE attacks for the second fight, so that's a big drawback that she's got. Then she's got the Spiritual Possession, or the Fall of Night, which will be the main reason she does crazy damage, especially in PvP. This increases her magic attack by 25, magic resistance penetration by 40, and human killer by 25. So overall, you gain 50 mod on humans, and then you ignore 40% of magic resistance penetration. This is going to make her hit very, very hard, and you probably want to make sure she casts that in the early turns of battle. Then her Lightning Shroud attack, you need her at 120 I think, because this is her best ability. You get a Cross Shape 200% mod, which is very high, and it restores 200 CT. Now when you take a turn, if you choose to do an action like an attack, it costs you 200 CT. So this is basically a free action in terms of CT management, and this is very, very good. So it makes her turn come 20% faster, which is just very relevant in all matchups. A strong part of her kit is a lot of these abilities have height range 2 and then AoE range 1, so you can hit enemies on different heights without too much trouble. Now, let's look at her sub-job for the Demoness, and she's got weird kind of abilities. The first one, Teeming Energy, is just used to recharge AP, but here's the thing, it restores 15 AP, and AP Restore is not like acquired AP, so it's not affected by acquired AP up. So, you know, her master ability that gives her additional acquired AP will not affect that 15, it'll just affect the 20 TP, because that part is acquired. So it's actually not going to give you that much more TP. I don't think it's great. And then she's got an ability that allows to switch position with target, which could be fun in some shenanigans, but let's be realistic. Switching position is always hard to place, so I don't think it's going to be as impactful as just blasting your enemy and killing them. Then her Limit Burst is really cool, but look at that 58 AP cost. That is very, very expensive. If you do land it though, you decrease lightning resistance, then deal damage, and then decrease every stat by a short number. This is not a very large debuff, but it's cute, and it's one of the very few buffs that I've seen that can decrease luck, so that's new and unique. I like that part. Now, in terms of sub-job, I don't like the Demoness, so what do I like? I think if you're going for damage, you want the Blade Soul sub-job. This gives you a whole new attack type that you can use. Yes, she can ignore magic resistance by 40%, but just having a different damage type will sometime allow you to do a lot more damage instead. You get a decent buff that increases slash and crit, that's cute, but I think mostly what you like about the sub-job is the Counterman Slash at the bottom, because this gives her the ability to reduce counter chance and have a plus 30% hit chance on one of her attacks. I did say she's not the most accurate, she doesn't have a guaranteed hit, so if you want her to reliably do damage, you want this. When you do end up in front of an enemy that's very evadey, at least this gives you some chance of hitting them. So that's the main reason why I would run Blade Soul. Otherwise, you have the option to go Paladin, and in the Paladin sub-job, all the attacks are physical scaling, so they will not do any kind of damage if you equip them to her. I would actually turn most of them off. What I do like about this sub-job is just Saintly Wall. If you want her to be bulky versus physical, this is a really good turn 1. You put on the barrier, then turn 2, hopefully you use your magic attack and Man-Eater up buff, and then you start hitting, and you'll be able to tank one more hit or two before going down, which is always good. So what does this look like in a build? I have two sample. The first one is the Glass Cannon build that we're seeing right now. She's got 6.6k HP, which is decent, right? That's not a terrible amount for a mage. 1500 magic is kind of insane, and then 42 lightning attack, 43 magic attack, and 30 Man-Eater that doesn't appear on screen. So she is going to hit extremely hard with this. But will she survive a hit? Not necessarily. Any slash attack is likely to take her down in one hit, even through 6000 HP, and then strike attacks as well. So it's not great in terms of survivability. So if you're running something like this, you need somebody like Charlotte or a tank that's just going to take the attacks away from you. She does have 30 AoE resistance, 10 from her master ability and 20 from her vision card that we have in that build. So if she's just getting clipped by an attack that's targeting somebody else, she might be fine for one more turn, but you don't want her to be targeted. In this build, we've been using her own vision card, Remu, and Curl, as you see on screen, and I think she would be a great partner for somebody like Cloud, especially if she's the Blade Soul sub-job, because they can chain together with Slash Attack. Another good tank for her could be potentially Rain, because again, he can build a chain which she can cap for massive damage using the Blade Soul sub-job, so I would see some interesting synergy in here. Now, I personally don't value this build very highly, and even though it has top tier damage, I mean, there's a lot of units that have top tier damage. You can use Black Rose Helena, you can use your Starlit Helena, you can use your Clouds. There's just so many different options that you already have that do you really need to go for a new cost 100 unit that requires you to hit Pity to get that? Meh. So instead, I would be more interested in seeing a Bruiser build with her, because she can, in my opinion, pull it fairly well. In this build, her role is just to survive a bunch of hits, be your frontliner for lightning attackers, and imperil the enemy for lightning resistance. And as long as she's there, your backline attackers are just going to deal crazy damage and survive a couple more turns. So we're replacing the weapon, the Esper, just for as much bulk as we can, and that's how we'll throw her in. In that case, 7300 HP is decent, 48 defense, 23 spirit. We could swap these numbers around a little bit by switching the passives. And then resistances, 20% to slash, 38 to piercing, a pretty high amount to missile as well. So yeah, she's just going to be very hard to kill, and then some decent magic resistance too. The mods for offense are a lot lower, only 40 lightning, only 18 to magic, so she's not going to hit nearly as hard, but you have hard-hitting people in the back, and her role is just to take a couple of hits. I would use the Paladin sub-job for this, because again, physical barrier will make her last a bit longer. I could see this as an interesting build with, for example, Ibara, Cloud, and Aerith, where somebody casts Re-Raise on either Ibara or Cloud, and then you just go in and deal as much damage as you can with the healer in the back, or you could just go Ibara, Fred, Cloud, and then you have the backline shooting and dealing crazy damage while she's in front, tanking the brunt of the enemy attack. Either way, food for thought. I'm personally not pulling for her, so while I'm putting together these builds, I will not be able to test them and let you guys know how they work. My verdict is she is a completely unnecessary unit with a underwhelming kit, but she has a very interesting design, and I think she's cool looking, she's interesting. If you have the spare viz and you want to go for her, you will have a good unit. She's just not as meta-defining as the other cost 100 units we've got, especially as global exclusive units. She is not needed for PvE. Really, all she brings that's good in there is Lightning Imperil, and that's it. For Arena, I mean, she could potentially be good depending on who you fight, but there's so much Earth power right now that she's going to get countered very quickly and very often. Guild Battle, I mean, her Lightning Imperil, which is her main edge, only has 3 casts overall, 2 with 1 ability and 1 with her LB. You're likely to just run out of steam for Battle 2 and not be able to do much. Manual PvP, she doesn't have the mobility to do much, and then Auto PvP, you don't know what you're facing, chances are you're facing Earth, and you're just going to die. So yeah, not a very good verdict in my opinion. Personally, I'm going to sit this one out and not pull for her. If there was really good banners where there was also a chance to get Yuar Zazan or Starlit Elena and etc., I would value this a lot higher, but right now, you need to plan for 40,000 viz to be sure to get her, because the odds are so bad that you will likely have to go to Pity, and then even if you get her, you're not getting any other unit with the Pity, so it's not that great in my opinion. Her Vision card is decent, but again, it's nothing that great, and the Vision card that will be released alongside Ranan, the Crystal Warrior Lightning Mage, is, in my opinion, a lot better than hers, so that's also a skip, but I'll try to make a different video for this. But that's going to be it from me, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.